Hi, welcome to the show.
Hello.
Jacqueline and Alyson here. You can read in the description box who we are. Working parenthood.
Yeah, we're
like
both
who
working
hasn't
parents.
struggled with that? I worked as a family physician, and did my medical residency and got pregnant, had babies during all of that.
Yeah.
And you've worked for 25 years. As a clinical counselor,
And my kids are now, I have twins, and yes,
twins.
my
We
own
can talk
little
about that.
study.
We can talk about that
We'll have one on
sometime.
twins.
Multiples.
and I've had my own little twin study, boy girl, for years.
Yeah.
But first of all, what we want to say is that people need to find what works for them.
Yeah.
And we honor all parents are working parents.
Yeah.
No matter
if they're outside the home or inside the home.
And we
that is very true
totally
too.
Understand that and support people in finding what works best for them.
Yeah.
For us, we both continued to work while our children were young and throughout most of their lives, really. Yeah. And so we thought it might be good to have an honest conversation about that
and how that looks or feels. I mean, for me, especially with my schedule when I was a resident, I really, there was quite a bit of guilt. And I remember the first day I dropped my daughter at daycare, went to work at the hospital as a resident in my scrubs and all that, and walked in and literally burst into tears. Like walked into the hospital to pick up my ID badge and broke down. And I'm thinking they're all going, oh, this is your newest resident. This is going to be fantastic. So they called one of the pediatricians down who also had a baby about the same age as mine, and she'd been out in the field, and this was her second baby. Been experienced, so they called this poor pediatrician had to come running in and piece me together again. I mean, other than that, and I really don't regret making the choice to work outside of the home. I had training and skills, and I really felt like I needed to use them and help people.
And so, one of the things that I used to say, and I coach some of the parents that I've worked with and stuff on this too, is that a lot of times parents are trying to make sense to kids. Why do you have to go, mommy? Why do you have to go, daddy? I miss you. I don't want you to go. Especially when they're young. Yeah. Okay, when they're a little older, they're like, yay.
They're like, see ya.
But when they're young, they're like, we miss you, and you're my favorite person in the world, right? And it's hard to leave that, especially when they're in that super cute stage. Yeah. So, but I used to say to my kids, rather than say, mommy's going to go to work to make money, to buy us things, or to pay our bills, or to all these kind of things. That's not what I would say to them. I would say to them, I'm really going to miss you too. And I would talk to them about our connection. Yeah. And I'd say our connection, remember my thing, connection's the thing, and it actually really helps children with separation anxiety. Yeah. And so I'd say, we're connected, and I'm going to be thinking about you today. And
that's a nice line too. Yeah. I'm going to be thinking about you today.
Well,
and I miss you too when I'm away. Yeah. Because it's okay to be honest with them, right? It's okay to say, you know what, when I'm not with you, I'm a little sad. I do miss you. You're important to me.
And what I'd say sometimes too is it's like Christmas. If you want to look forward to things. So I'm going to be looking forward to seeing you at the end of the day, or whatever it was. Yeah. And also when they were young, I used to take a metaphor. I'd say to them, hey, what do you think our connection looks like? Right? And my daughter, who's very musical, she would say, it's like, beautiful musical notes that float back and forth to each other.
That's nice.
And I thought, well, that's
a lovely image.
Cool, yeah. And so, and I was like,
interesting.
So get a metaphor.
Right. Or ask the child what they think it feels like.
And have them come up with the metaphor. And then I would say things like,
that's a great tip.
I'll be sending you musical notes throughout the day. Right? And if it was like my son was rainbow, it's like I'll be sending you lots of blue and whatever the colors were that were his favorites, and green and stuff. So but I would also say to them, I go to work because it's something I'm good at. Yeah. I'm good at doing this. Yeah.
You can help people. You contribute.
And so I didn't ever equate my going to work with money.
Right.
Because I didn't ever want my children to feel that money was more important than them.
Good point.
So I would always say,
yeah,
it's what I do well.
Yeah.
And I said, and when you're older, your job is going to be able to figure out what you do well.
Yeah.
Right?
And how to contribute and how to help.
Yeah. Because
we're trying to raise helpers. We're trying to raise people that help other people. And so that easily could be used. It's interesting. I never did say to my kids either about work. I always talked about how it felt to be able to help people as a doctor.
Right. And how that felt good.
And how that felt good. And how I, enjoyed being able to help people. And they kind of felt like, I think that it was okay to sort of give me up for that because other people were benefiting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I got super lucky. I've had the same nanny for 20 years. She's still my nanny. I actually had the nanny. The kids didn't.
Yeah.
She was my nanny.
Now.
I kind of sometimes call her my assistant, but basically she's my nanny.
Yeah. We all need a nanny.
That's right. So, and the other thing is, when the kids aren't with you, they are getting the value of somebody else. And I used to comfort myself, and we were talking about this today at lunch actually, is that my nanny and I parent very differently, but we were each as committed to the kids as the other one. And so the kids got the benefit of two different parenting approaches. It was a bit yin and yang.
Yeah.
And so I think it really worked well for our family. That's what worked best for my children and our family. But it can look different. Daycare or preschool or whatever, it can look different depending on what your family's needs are, how they do best.
I would say, I just want to go back for a second on something you said, and I think it's really important, and it's going to key into some other future conversations we have. But you talked about how you would go to work to help people, and there was sort of this greater good that you were doing.
Yeah.
And that's part of our empathy conversations.
Yeah.
That's part of what we want to teach our children, is that you contribute and that you do things that can maybe make somebody else's life a little bit better, a little bit easier, especially like for a physician. People are scared when they're sick. Yeah. And so you could provide incredible comfort, and those are some of the roots of empathy. Yeah.
And I did, when I was raising my children, talk about feelings and empathy and Alyson was around for a lot of that actually when my kids were younger, and we did have a lot of discussions around that.
It's good. It's important discussion. So we'll talk more about that on another show.
We will. But those are some tips on the outside of the home parenting. If you're inside of the home parenting, kudos to you too. Yeah. Your job is as important as everybody else's.
And your children are going to be separated from you when they're in school or whatnot. So the same tips can help you
about maintaining that connection with your child.
Right? Yeah. So it's all about connection, guys.
Absolutely. And speaking of connections, thanks for joining us. Feel free to subscribe by just pushing the button down there. As always, our advice is not considered to be medical advice, or counseling advice. As always, see your physician or counselor for anything specific. If you want to talk generally, if you want to contribute to the conversation, please feel free to put a comment in the comment area below. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye. Bye.